The O'Neill 4-minute test came about as a result of talking to gym instructors. Now, in most fitness centres you'll find rowing machines, and a lot of the gym instructors were starting to see the benefits of these machines. But what they wanted to do, they wanted a simple test that they could apply to people walking through the door and enable them to determine what sort of condition they were in and an appropriate level of training for them. So I looked around at various tests that already existed, and there was a test called the Cooper test, which was designed in America for young men going into the American Armed Forces, and this involved a 12-minute run. Now, and depending on how many meters you covered in the 12 minutes, there was a table, and you looked and you got an appropriate level. So I took this idea of a table of pre-existing distance covered for different categories at different age groups and gender, but you don't need to do 12 minutes. You know, 4 minutes is plenty to get yourself into an aerobic condition. And so I settled for 4 minutes. Now, the table that I came up with over the years since Concept 2 has been in existence, it's run numerous events. And it has loads and loads of data on what sort of output people are capable of. So the first thing, the assumption that I made, that if you were going to enter a competition, then you would have prepared for that competition. So you would have addressed two things: skill level and physical demands of the activity prior to entering the competition. And I had to take that out of the equation, because what we were looking for was a test that you could apply to someone walking in off the street with just, say, 10 to 15 minutes of instruction on how to use the machine. So I took the data that I had and then added a correction factor, which I calculated would represent the improvement from scratch to preparation for a competition. So I took that out and came up with the table that exists. And I was quite surprised, because obviously, although I'd received numerous calls from gym instructors, I mean, we're not talking about millions of people here. You know, I thought it was going to be quite a specific thing to help a specific group of people. But I'm amazed that it just took off, and all sorts of people use it as a standard test for all different things. All over the world, I get people ringing me up. And there was one group that rang me up from Colorado, and they were obviously a group of people that were pretty fit, trained pretty hard, but they could never get into the excellence level. And of course, I started off by saying, well, you're not as fit as you think you are, and you just got to try harder. And they come back a few weeks later and said, we've tried hard and we still can't get there. We think these figures are wrong. Well, they were absolutely right. These figures were based at performance at sea level, and you would have to add another correction factor if people were doing the test at altitude. So I put another correction factor in for people in Colorado training at altitude, and also if people in Cape Town want to use those, I can send them the modified data. But the people in Colorado were really happy, that a couple of them had managed to get into the excellence level, which is what they wanted to achieve, and there was a flaw there.